Welcome to this week's discussion on Don't Worry, Be Happy. In 1988, a song was released by Bobby McFerrin called Don't Worry, Be Happy. It is not like we can just choose one or the other. We can't easily say, Today I will be happy and not worry. But throughout the scripture, we read exactly that. Let's start with the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 25. Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Or in verse 34, do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. Now some of you may be saying, that is just being irresponsible. On the surface, it would seem that not worrying is not meeting with all your responsibilities as a parent in your job or in life in general. I think that the problem is the word worry. There are things that happen in life that we should be concerned about and have problems that need to be fixed. Worrying will not provide any solutions to any of these things. Saint Padre Pio had a different way of handling worrisome situations. He said, Pray, hope, don't worry. Worrying is useless. God is merciful and will hear your prayer. If you are thinking, this is all very nice, but I must do something, you are right, but worrying is not the remedy. Remember that when Peter was on the sea, even though the ship was taking on water and they were being tossed around, that everyone on board was afraid. Peter was the only one that trusted in God and got out of the boat and began to walk on the water until his faith weakened, and he began to sink. At least he had enough hope in God to get out of the boat. This does not mean that when we have a problem that comes up, we just say a prayer and let it go. We do have responsibilities, but how do we address problems? Nowhere in the Bible were we ever told that life would be easy and trouble-free. We are called to never lose hope in God and to have faith that God is listening. On our part, God has given each of us a variety of gifts. It is our job to use them. We need to be aware of those God-given gifts and also be aware of those gifts we do not have. We cannot do everything, but there are things we can do. I recently retired from a sales position that had me traveling all over North America. I loved my job, but flying was not a part of the job that I liked. Over time, I created a method of handling airline problems. When a flight was either delayed so I would be missing my connecting flight, or it was canceled, here is what I would do. Passengers would be screaming at the poor gate agents and threaten to never fly on their airline ever again. I am sure the gate agent hoped they never would. When it was my turn, I would simply say, what is my option B? Sometimes they were surprised at my calmness, and I would say, are you responsible for the weather or the mechanical problems? Of course, they were not, so they would tell me my options, and I would pick one. It was not ideal, but it was my next best option. There were times when my option B was also canceled, and I would ask for option C. I had made it my policy, however, that when I reached option E, I would stop and go back home and start over at another time, or if I was out of town, I would ask them for a hotel and try again the next day. On one trip, I was on the West Coast, and I live on the East Coast and was trying to get home for the weekend. Because of canceled flights, I was not going to get home on Saturday as I was supposed to be, and I had to get back to the West Coast in another city by Monday. I just stayed where I was for the weekend. Again, not the ideal situation, but not a solution that would come from worrying. I even wrote a new Beatitude that you will not find in the Bible. It reads like this: Blessed are the flexible. In another situation, in our early years of marriage, like many young couples, we experienced a money problem. I looked at the facts of the problem, gathered any options that might be available to us, and tried to find the best alternative. God gave me the gift of patience and of observing a situation. When I used all the gifts I had, there was no more I could do but to then hand it off to God in prayer and ask for His help. What would worrying have added to my solution? Once I had done all I could do, I went to sleep. My wife woke me up and asked, Aren't you worried? I would answer that I was not. I told her that it is in God's hands now, and there is nothing I can add to fix the problem. The solution might not have been what I had planned, but God gave us a positive solution. In Romans chapter 8, verse 24 and 25, it says, For in hope we are saved. Now hope that sees for itself is not hope. For who hopes for what one sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait in endurance. Don't lose hope in God, for He knows what is best for us. Worrying is losing hope in God. Trust in God because you cannot change the past, even if it was your mistake, but you can do something about the future. What are you worried about right now? Do you use your own God-given gifts? Have a blessed week. If you would like to receive a notification for these weekly discussions, please subscribe below. You can also feel free to share any comments.